Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. This is Financial Literacy 101. So, people are still renting, and some people actually need to rent. Some people are still trying to get their lives together. Some people, it's more advantageous for some because their job has them to move maybe every 2 to 3 years, like military personnel, Job Corps, etc., or just your everyday travelers. But ladies and gentlemen, there's good and bad to buying and renting. Buying a house gives you ownership. It gives you privacy. It gives you freedom. That's right, freedom. But when it comes with a lot of work and cost, there's a lot of things you guys need to be upgrading in your homes. There's a lot of things to keep up on in your homes. Renting is lower maintenance and provides more flexibility. But you may have to deal with crazy neighbors and rising rates. I used to rent for a very, very long time, in and out of housing because of the military. And believe me, your neighbors could be crazy. And then every year they're raising the rent. But buying a house isn't always the most grown-up thing to do, believe it or not, just depending on your circumstance. But you're still poor. And poor absolutely means passing over opportunities repeatedly. P-O-O-R, passing over opportunities repeatedly. And this cycle has to stop. This cycle has to change. You have to really learn whether you should be a renter or a buyer. Now, I just want to let you guys know, eventually everyone should be buyers. Eventually everybody should be owning some sort of property. But nonetheless, this is something that we will go over. This is something we will cover. So here we go. Now, there are some tall tale signs to let you know, these indicators that will let you know if you're ready to rent or you're ready to buy, depending, right? Because a lot of times we get so stuck in this repetitive cycle of renting and renting and renting and renting, and we're not really building anything. We're not building any equity. Why do you think that the most people who were affected by COVID-19 and was really banking on this whole rental eviction moratorium was, unfortunately, Black people? And why is that? That's because we are the ones who rent the most. CNN did this story right here, and believe it or not, it was just last month, so very, very recent. These renters were hit hardest by the pandemic, and they're still struggling. And it goes on to say here, millions of people struggled to pay their rent during the pandemic, but the hardship fell disproportionately on renters that were Black. I'm not saying color, Black. And it also says here that those living with children and people renting in the South, according to the exclusive new report from the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities, the number of renters that fell behind on rent peaked at $15 million. Why is this report so significant over people who have homes, that people who own homes? Because people who own homes or who are buying or who are paying a mortgage have more leverage with their property. And that's because of equity. And so a lot of times, if you're getting into a bind, you get into a financial hardship, as long as you have a decent enough credit score and you have equity built in your home, you can leverage your home and get money out of your home. These are why renters are doing horribly bad right now, because they're renting. They don't own anything. And if their loan from their landlord wasn't a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac federal loan, then a lot of these people absolutely got evicted. This is very important. So what are some of the signs that you're really ready to buy a home? Because if you are poor, if you're renting and you're 30, 35, 40, and your job doesn't have you to travel every 2 to 3 years, let me tell you, you're passing over opportunities repeatedly. That's poor. Here's some tall tale signs. You have very little to no debt when it comes to student loans, car loans, medical bills, credit card bills, personal loans. Like literally, you have very little debt. That is when you're ready to buy a home. The other question is, do you have an emergency fund? See, a lot of times we just go out nonchalantly and we just try to buy things. Oh, do I qualify for this? No, you should know if you qualify for it even before you go up there. I remember when my wife was looking for our home here in Texas, I said, babe, go down and look for a home. And she said, what is your budget? I said, $400,000. That's something that you should know. And I don't mean $400,000 cash. I just mean that the amount of my debt to income ratio and a really nice credit score that I knew that I would get approved for that amount. There's algorithms, there's calculations, there's all sorts of people and also a website that can help you with things this matter. But do you have an emergency fund? Do you have anywhere from 3 to 6, 6 to 9 months of your potential bills before you even try to buy a home? Another question is, did you save up for that 20% down on a 30 or 15-year mortgage to wipe away your PMI insurance, your private mortgage insurance? Do you plan to stay in the same location for more than 3 years? Because 2 to 3 years, but 3 years being a very hard number, is the year that you start to make the most equity outside of a pandemic and right now in a recession. That's how usually it takes to really build some equity inside your home. But I get it. There are some reasons why you shouldn't buy a house, right? Here's the thing. Anything that really sounds too good usually up being too good and is very fraudulent and is very fake, right? Think about it. You found the perfect house and the sellers are practically giving it away. It just might be the deal of the century, right? Even though Sally Mae, still clenching and looking at your pocketbook, you done walked away, right? No, the real estate, you'll be way off better buying the right home at the right time. Second thing, you feel pressured, right? Because when you think about it, when you're younger, many home buyers in their 20s and 30s, you feel a ton of pressure to buy a house because they think it's a grown-up thing to do to buy a house. Sometimes you're just not even settled in your career in order to buy a house, right? Your first year, your second year, you're like, no, I really want to get into this thing maybe around my third or fourth year where you feel settled, like really taking control of your money, like really having your debt under control, your savings, and your investing. But so you're 25 and you feel like you're behind the curve because you haven't bought a house yet. But I'll tell you this, don't rush into a big purchase like a house just because you want to be broke with your friends. Because maybe they rush in and you know how much they make. You're like, how are you affording that house? But there are some tall tale signs where you should rent. Like you really should rent. You have a lot of debt and you're paying it off. And as I stated before, you're like in a job that requires you to move every 2 to 3 years like the military. And then some of you really just need to mature and make a plan. You need to make a plan to stop being poor. And that's because you continue to pass over opportunities repeatedly. Again, that is poor. Now, renting is cheaper in the short term, is it not? But if you look at your monthly costs alone, you'll see that home ownership often tips the money scale to the pricier side, since you have to pay for maintenance, taxes, and homeowner insurance on top of your mortgage. So renting is probably cheaper if you're moving every couple of years. But there is a breaking point. There is a tipping point, family. If you rent for decades, just like me growing up, my family and everyone else I essentially lived with was always renting. So they never owned anything. They're 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, still renting, not owning, still renting, not owning. That is poor, passing over opportunities repeatedly because you are afraid, knowing that when I look inside your closet, I see $100,000. When I look outside and I see your car, I see anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000. I'm seeing the Black community with BMWs and Mercedes and Bentleys and walk into a damn apartment building. don't even have a garage to protect your $100,000 vehicle from the elements. There's a tipping point, family, because you've been renting for decades. I mean, you could actually end up paying more than if you just bought a house. Because I want you to think about it. What if you got into a 15-year mortgage? Guess how long it would take you to pay off that 15-year mortgage? You're right, correct, 15 years. But just as I gave you the example, I know people who have been renting since they were 25 and they're 50 right now. So either they would have already bought off a 15-year mortgage or they would have been close to closing down on a 30-year mortgage. But they're not. They're further away from 15 and a little further away with double the time with a 30-year mortgage. Oh yeah. Because think about it, throughout the years, house payments will stay the same. Like once you make that deal, as long as you don't refinance your loan, your payments will stay the same, family, when you buy. But when you rent, you know, that rent go up almost every 6 months to a year. Yes, it does. Now, the only time you can really get in trouble with buying a home, getting a mortgage, if you don't get it fixed, right? Because an adjustable rate mortgage, which also known as an ARM, depending on your deal, they can raise significantly in percentage rates. So again, I almost lead people to really buy a 15 to 30 year fixed loan versus an ARM, unless you know in 2 to 3 years you're out of there, and that's how long your ARM rate is. Because ARM rate mortgages you can get at a lower percentage, but make sure you don't go over the terms that they give you, because I've seen ARMs go from 3% to around 15%. So be very careful. But I know some of you like, I've been renting for years and I'm doing perfectly fine. You don't own anything. See, your home is one of the very few things that builds equity. The car that you own outside, family, builds no equity. The car that you essentially paid off from the bank, that you got from the dealership, has no equity. The only thing a car does at this point is drain your cash. It breaks the bank. You have to do constant maintenance on your vehicle. You have to constantly put gas inside your vehicle. Think about it, family. The home is one of the few things that once you buy, it builds equity. It makes you money. Because if you were to sell that home, you will get more than what you put into the home. That's usually how it goes. And then if you need some upfront cash with a decent credit score, and you've been in the home anywhere from 3 so on years, you have equity and you can borrow against your house and take money out and pay whatever bills you may have or upgrade your home. Or how about this? You borrow against your home, you take out a equity loan, and you can go out and buy businesses from the money that was built inside your home. And now you're being what? You're building residual cash because you own something. But when you rent, you don't own a damn thing. And if you continue to rent day in, day out, you will be poor. You will be passing over opportunities repeatedly. You really need to think about that, because I can understand some of the renting pros, right? You can move with ease. I can move whenever I want. I don't got to worry about trying to sell no house. You don't really have to pay for maintenance. You call the handyman for every single thing. You don't got to deal with nothing yourself. You're too busy for that. And when as you're looking at it, of course, most people looking at short term, a lot of people don't really think long term. It's cheaper. Like what? Nah, man, I pay $800 for a 2-bedroom apartment. You over to paying $1,800. So you more than double what I pay in rent. And you can't explain sometimes, family, it's just better to rent. Or is it better to own? Because we know that rent rates will go up. You have no financial incentive, no tax deduction, no equity, no rise in property value. There you have it. You have nothing when you rent. No tax deduction, no equity, no rise in property. And then you have less freedom to renovate. It's not yours. I really want to put some drawers in here. Hold on, let me read this rental agreement. Nope, I can't put no shelves up there. They said you can't even drill into the studs unless you're putting on a TV on the wall. And some apartments won't even let you put a TV on the wall in your rental space. So the question, I guess, at the end of the day is, what is it best to do? But we know there are some things that you may not be thinking that you can actually probably turn into a business. But I'll really tell you some of the things that we as a people really rent, right? I remember one of my first apartments, I was renting from Court Furniture. Anybody familiar with Court Furniture? I used to rent for them. Good afternoon, Derek. But anyway, family, a storage space. A lot of you have a lot of extra gear and equipment and furniture, and you're renting out a storage space. Some people just thinking housing and renting, this is where a lot of your money goes. These are one of the things that continues to keep you poor. Unless that storage space is making you money, it's making you poor. See, think about this, family. Either something is building your wealth, making you money, earning you money, or it's taking your money. And owning a storage space that's not making you money, you just got a bunch of junk in there that you don't want to give up or give away or sell, then you're making yourself poor, literally. That's money that can be saved. A lot of these storage spaces are what? Anywhere from $150 on up. Truck, I know that will probably on the most part be temporary, but a car in general. Then I know some people, this is probably the smartest choice when it comes to renting. Just renting an RV or a camper every time you and your family go out or something like that. That's perfectly fine. A spare room or your house. This can go either way. Now, this is more like a business idea that a lot of you could rent out a room. And if you have where you're going to be out of town, I've seen people do this, family. They're going to be out of town for a week or two, and they actually rent out their Airbnb or Vrbo and make some money while they're out of town. Have you ever seen people flip property like that? Let's continue. We're not going to really get into kitchen or houses. We rent out parking spaces. And this is the thing I hate. I know this is a hassle. I used to rent out my own. Listen, my last apartment, I was renting out the apartment, and I also had to rent a car space from the apartments. This is a la carte when they do these apartments, right? You have to rent everything. You have to rent that storage space, quote unquote garage at the apartment. You have to rent your apartment. If you want a car space with a cover, you have to rent it. And all of these things are making you poor. All these things are putting your bank account into a debt slowly but surely. And these aren't the things that you see. You don't see these things. It's kind of like if you was to watch water evaporate very, very slowly. You don't really see it evaporating. You just know it's evaporating. Like, cause man, it was 10 ounces of juice in there. Now it's 6 ounces. That's what we're talking about, family. Your bank accounts, your money cash, all of those things are evaporating in front of you because of all the things that you rent, especially your apartment, especially your condo. And then some of you have the answer and you don't even know that you're fucking living in it. You're living in the answer. There's people who rent homes. There's people who rent houses. You are essentially living in the answer of building financial wealth. You're renting out somebody else's home, paying it off for them, or if it's already paid off, they're getting straight residual cash. You're making them rich, family, and you continue to make yourself poor. Continue to pass over opportunities repeatedly because the answer is right in your face. Stop renting people houses and buy your damn own. Fix your credit score. See, we got all this time for entertainment. We got all this time for fun. But when it really starts to work on you, oh no. You want to go watch TV. You want to go out to eat. You want to go watch a movie. Work on your credit. Make a damn budget. The time is now. Stop being poor. Stop feeling poor. Stop thinking poor. It only take a couple of hours of your weekend. How you gonna go about attacking your credit and paying off your debt, lowering your interest rate? A lot of these things on my channel I've given out that you can simply call into your credit card company, you can call into your personal loan company, and then ask them, can they lower your interest rate? Yes, you can. And also, for many of years, I said, look at my email, rossworldllc@gmail.com, and I will send you free credit letters so they can wipe off all the discrepancies of your credit report. Absolutely free. I don't charge a damn thing. That's all you got to request. Hey, man, can I get those credit letters? Start working on yourself and get out of those apartments. Stop renting, family. Stop renting. It's making you poor. Then we keep going to these payday loan places. We keep going to places like Prosper and all these places and essentially loaning money. It's just renting money because you got to give it back with interest. You have to give it back with interest. When are we going to learn? That's all I'm getting at, family. What are we going to learn? Let me make this a little more clear for you. Rent. Pay someone for the use of something, typically property, land, or car. Let someone use something in return for payment. You know the one thing they never spoke about? They never spoke about ownership. They never spoke about ownership, the act, the state, or the right of possessing something. What is the meaning of ownership? The state, relation, or fact of being a owner. A group of meaning is yours. When I say that this house is my house, it's really not my house because I still have a damn mortgage on it, right? But what's the difference of that and renting an apartment? Because I can build equity in this home and take equity out this home and buy another home and have someone rent out that home to exactly what you're doing to pay off the current home that I am. Don't you love capitalism? Don't you love capitalism, family? That you can buy a home with a loan, and then after 3 years, you can go in and borrow against that home and take equity out of the home to buy another home to pay off the home that you're currently in. God damn. You gotta love capitalism. You don't need no money to make money. You don't need no money to make money. That's what I've been preaching and teaching for these many years on YouTube, regardless how many viewers I have, that you don't need money to make money in America. The only thing you really need is a nice credit score and a job. And people would just give you money. Oh, you want to buy that house? How much you making? Well, we'll give you $250,000 because your credit score $750. Yes, family. You seen those books that has those trick keywords on them? You don't need any money to be rich. You don't need any money. The one true way I understand of being financially stable, financially grounded, on the way of building wealth is leveraging your own home to buy other homes or buying other properties or starting a business all with somebody else's money. You got to love capitalism. You need to really stop renting. Now, if you're in your early 20s, I totally understand, right? You're probably right out of college. You don't know where you're headed. You have to mature a little. But let me tell you this, family. And I'm going to just throw out a number. And I know a lot of you been through different life struggles, so everybody has a different path. But there's a lot of you out there who've been very stagnant, right? And you have been persistent in you staggering and you're falling because you have this poor mindset. You have this poor mentality. You have this poor way of thinking. And the acronym POOR, not even the word poor, the acronym POOR, POOR, passing over opportunities repeatedly. That means you continue to do the same poor thing and expecting different results. How the hell can you afford Balenciaga shoes, but your car need a muffler? How in the hell did you pay for Laker tickets and you caught the bus to the game? I don't understand. We have to rearrange. We have to reconfigure. We have to revamp the way we think about things, family. Now, when it comes to really cars, those are liabilities. But you can do a quick Google search and it will tell you that buying real estate, starting a business are the fastest ways and made the most millionaires in America today. Bar none. No questions asked. But you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start on yourself. You have to start on yourself. Because let me tell you, it's really nice having a home. It's peaceful. I don't care what it costs. I really don't. Now, some people who say that probably make enough money to pay their bills, of course. But nonetheless, family, what are your goals? Because some of you may think, I'm just too old to be. I know my aunt, she's probably listening. But this is not directed towards her. This is very general. Because family, I know at the end of the day, I want us to do very, very well. And if we have this mindset of being poor, we have this mindset of not taking risks, if we have this mindset of we good where we at, if we have this mindset, I'm all good, if we have this mindset of being persistently stagnant, then you're going to always be poor. You're going to be always passing over those opportunities. Always. So I challenge you to be a owner and not a renter. Look at your budget. Sit down this weekend. Take an hour or two. And the budget's the most easiest thing that you can do, family. You can do an Excel spreadsheet. You can look how to create a budget online. It takes a couple of minutes. And you type in the income you have coming in and the expenses you have going out, and you see what you have left. And then you want to work on your emergency fund. And then you want to start saving for your house. Then you want to start saving for vacation. Then you want to start saving for school. Like in my home, we have funds for everything, right? Okay, well, we got this money coming in. Okay, mortgage is this, bills are this, X, Y, and that. We're going to start our son on a 529 college plan. Okay, we can save up for a vacation. How do you think I go on these vacations? I'm not rich, family. I save. My wife said, babe, you think like years ahead. And I ain't want to tell her I did. Nah, babe, just, day to day. She said, no. You're strategic about the way you go about things. She's right. She knows she was right. You can't let her know she's right about everything, right? Because I want us to live our life, build wealth, and have fun at the same time. This last week, family, on Saturday, my wife and I, for our anniversary, we skydived. I'm not encouraging anyone to skydive. I mean, you might want to do other things, but family, skydiving isn't cheap. And it sure ain't safe. No, I'm kidding. But nonetheless, we had the freedom to do so. Good evening, Jermaine Anderson. And just like Derek says, you need to have a bucket for everything. You need to have an envelope for everything. You need to have a fund for everything. But the first thing that you have to take care of is yourself. Making sure that your debt to income ratio is at a manageable limit. If your debt to income ratio is over 30%, then if you ever apply for a loan, they're going to put you in the category of high risk. In that category of high risk, your interest rates almost quadruple. Like myself, if I get a interest rate at 2%, and then you come in with a debt to income ratio of 35 to 40%, you're not going to get the same rate as me. We can be making the same amount of money, but you have too many things going on your credit, whereas though your debt to income ratio is 35 to 40%, your interest rate for the same exact loan, for the same exact car, it's going to be around 5 to 6%. It's almost going to double, triple, if not quadruple in price, meaning you're going to pay more for your loan versus I. So being a good steward of your finances is just not about saving money. It's about understanding your credit score and how it works, how to increase it, how to keep it at a very manageable rate. My wife used to ask me, babe, why you got all these credit cards? You got $25,000 on that credit card. You got $10,000 on that credit card, $45,000 on that credit card. I said, babe, I don't use none of those cards. I'm just increasing my debt to income ratio slowly but surely. I said, eventually, and we looked at all the amount of credit I had on credit cards that there was zero balance. I have enough money to go in and walk on a dealership and buy a Ferrari. 2019. I have enough money on credit. I don't even use it. Just recently, I told my wife, babe, we probably need to start circulating the cards because they have rewards and we can build up points, but we pay them right off. Now, with one card, American Express, we're going to have to pay that off pretty soon here. But nonetheless, we have literally one credit card with a little bit of debt on it. We have very low debt. Very low debt. Especially when you compare that amount of income that we are receiving every month and every year. It's not about being rich, right? I want to be rich. And rich and wealthy are very different. Rich is temporary. Wealthy is long-term. And if you look at more wealthy people, you know the number one thing they own? Property. Wealthy people own land. Wealthy people own houses. Rich people just got a lot of money in the bank. Wealthy people have assets. Recession hit. They're like, you owe us $100,000, Bill. Sell the house in the Hamptons. But what if you're a millionaire and you owe the government, you owe somebody $100,000? As soon as you give them $100,000, you're no longer a millionaire. See, it's about assets, family. It's about building. But we can't just think about all the money we can make, right? I want to be rich. I want to be a millionaire. You have to work on yourself. I just have one thing to say to you guys. Stop being poor. Stop thinking poor. Stop talking to other people about you being poor. I want you to have a rich man's mindset and build wealth. But do the things personally first. If you need to fix yourself mentally, fix it. If you need to fix yourself physically, fix it. If you need to fix yourself in order to get rid of this mindset, then work on yourself first. Because anything you do financially, if you're not right, your money won't be right. This is Financial Literacy 101. Learn money and be inspired. I'm out.